Warning: the Savage Nation contains adult language, adult content, psychological nudity. Listener discretion is advised. And now, America's most exciting radio talk show, The Savage Nation, home of unprotected talk, borders, language, culture. And here he is, Michael Savage.
Welcome to the Savage Nation. Today we continue our analysis of bullying in America and how the radical LGBT community has unleashed an epidemic of bullying unlike any seen in American history. We have the president bullying the Supreme Court. We have the LGBT community bullying everybody. We have Muslims bullying the entire West. We have street thugs in Baltimore bullying cops. We have the ACLU bullying Christians. We have Obama bullying the Supreme Court. We have illegal aliens in the U.S. bullying states for rights they're not entitled to. There is an epidemic of vicious bullying unlike any in American history. And there is no better example of this. And it's quite ironic, by the way. It's an example of a far leftist, incompetent through and through, never should have been on the radio. But, of course, it's NPR. NPR, as I have told you, never, ever, ever should have been funded. NPR is a left-wing outlet for the mouthpieces of the far left. Yesterday, the left-wing candidate, Bernie Sanders, who is unelectable at any speed, goes on an obscure talk show host's program on NPR where this anti-Semitic woman blindsides him with an accusation that approaches that of Adolf Hitler's Nazi Germany. I want you to listen to a creature called Diane Rem of NPR, blindsiding the Jewish candidate, a communist at that, by the way, Bernie Sanders. Listen.
Senator, you have dual citizenship with Israel.
Well, no, I do not have dual citizenship with Israel. I'm an American. I don't know where that question came from. I am an American citizen, and I have visited Israel on a couple of occasions. No, I'm an American citizen, period.
I understand from a list we have gotten that you were on that list. No. Forgive me if that is.
That's some of the nonsense that goes on in the internet, but that is absolutely not true.
Are there members of Congress who do have dual citizenship, or is that part of the fable?
I honestly don't know, but I have read that on the internet. You know, my dad came to this country from Poland at the age of 17 without a nickel in his pocket, loved this country. I get offended a little bit by that comment, and I know it's been on the internet. I am obviously an American citizen, and I do not have any dual citizenship.
All right.
So there is a woman who should be fired. She's, of course, incompetent at any speed. She's protected by the government because it's NPR. And my headline is NPR Red attacks Pinko Bernie Sanders with Jewish blood libel. NPR's Diane Rem surprises Bernie Sanders by telling him he has dual U.S.-Israeli citizenship. Now, of course, Sanders should be shocked because this is something that you would have expected in Nazi Germany in the 1930s if you went before, let's say, German Broadcasting Network. And one of the German broadcasters says to a candidate for some office, "Isn't it true that you have Jewish blood?" And the candidate says, "Well, wait a minute, why are you asking me that question?" The equivalent now of asking if you have Jewish blood is if you support Israel. And now so she throws the blood libel implication at Bernie Sanders that he has dual citizenship with Israel. And then she goes on and doubles down and says, we have a list at NPR of other members of Congress who have dual citizenship. Isn't this amazing that an NPR Red attacks a Pinko Bernie Sanders with Jewish blood libel and she's not immediately fired? Well, I would say, where's the Republican Party? But we know the answer to that. Well, that's the leadoff today of bullying in America, and we're going to talk more about it. I have one story after another showing you bullying. Military gays bullying Christians. You ready for this one? I'll give you more of them. There's plenty of them. California trains professors to avoid microaggressions. Who do you think is behind this at the University of California, which has been decimated by Janet Napolitano? This was once one of the finest universities in the world. It has since fallen into disrepair. It is now in the toilet, in the garbage, because Janet Napolitano has taken over UC California, the entire UC system. She is now training faculty members at the University of California to avoid describing America as a, quote, land of opportunity. She says those phrases are offensive microaggressions. According to psychotic anti-white activists, so-called microaggressions are subtle actions, usually unintentional, that perpetuate discrimination against so-called disadvantaged groups, even in environments where overt discrimination has been abolished. So the vermin thought police have now infected the University of California with the chief bug, Janet Napolitano, formally training faculty to avoid and root out these perceived microaggressions for the good of all. You want to hear what else they're not allowed to say? One of the largest categories of microaggressions, according to Janet Napolitano and a left-wing fascist goon squad, are those that promote the myth of meritocracy. Did you hear what I just said to you? The myth of meritocracy. The myth of meritocracy? That's a myth? You mean there are people who are smarter than others? There are people who are swifter than others? Are you crazy? Do you have any idea what this is going to lead to? I know where it leads. I've studied these things. Other things they're not allowed to say is this, quote, I believe the most qualified person should get the job. That's a microaggression. Here's another one. Affirmative action is racist. Hello? What else is it but racism? Other examples of sinister microaggressions, according to Janet Napolitano, are 1, describing America as a melting pot because it forces people to assimilate. 2, stating that there is only one race, the human race. It denies the significance of a person's ethnic or racial history. So, in other words, the psychotic leftists want segregation. Asking Asians, Hispanics, or Native Americans to speak up more. I can't even read the word. That pathologizes foreign norms and treats white norms as normal, using he as a generic pronoun for all people. It makes the male experience universal and the female experience invisible. Using forms where individuals must identify as male or female because it excludes the full LGBT experience. Do you have any idea where this sickness has come from? Do you have any idea where this virus ends? Do you have any idea how a civilization melts down? I'm warning you that if you don't stand up to these tyrants, these bullies, I don't care what they call themselves, the country is over. These are some of the examples of bullying. I have many others that you're not going to believe as we go on in the Savage Nation. If you get a call and comment on this, the phone number is 855-400-7282. If you have any examples of bullying that you have seen, that you have witnessed, that you have experienced in your life by some of these, quote, poor oppressed groups, I'd like to hear about it because I am sick of it and we've got to fight back. It is time to fight back against these fascists. They are nothing but fascists in the garb of minority discrimination cases. Period. End of story. Don't tell me there's no such thing as a meritocracy. Let's apply it to the football field. You're telling me that a 110-pound woman can be a fullback on a football team? Wouldn't that be nonsense? Let's make it very simple for these psychotics. Why, there's meritocracy there. Let's put a 110-pound man in the ring with a 220-pound heavyweight. Let's talk about meritocracy. Why, the heavyweight will blow on him and knock him down. Is that not meritocracy? He's a better fighter. Where are your brains? How do you buy into this crap? How did these infested morons get so powerful? How did a psychotic like Janet Napolitano be handed the keys to the University of California? In my day, that woman couldn't run a ding-dong school. She would have been fired running an elementary school in Mississippi somewhere for the abuse of the children. Now she's running one of the ex-great universities in the world. Look what she's done to it. Of course there's meritocracy. Are you crazy? You mean the engineers who created the first rocket to the moon didn't do so because they were smarter than the people who couldn't be engineers? You mean that surgeon with a scalpel in his hand who performs the most intricate kind of surgery has not achieved that through meritocracy? Where are you brains, you leftist psychotics, you? When are you going to wake up to what you have done to this country and admit finally? You're going to call the show one day and say, Michael Savage, I was wrong. Michael Savage, you were right. Michael Savage, keep it up. Michael Savage, speak out for us, otherwise all is lost. I'll be right back.
Join the Savage Nation. Call now, 855-400-SAVAGE, 855-400-7282. Savage.
My Savage Nation is sponsored by SwissAmerica.com. It's the only company I trust to protect my wealth. Call 800-BUY-COIN.
The fight ain't over. And you don't judge the fight on one round. Even if we get knocked down, we get up and go to the corner and come out fighting the next round. You won the first round, Mr. Prosecutor, but don't cut your gloves off, because the fight's not over. Justice will come to Ferguson.
This is one of the worst people in American history. He's done more harm to the social fabric than all of our foreign enemies combined, in my estimation. Al Sharpton was used as the street thug for the bully-in-chief in the White House, for Eric Holder in the Attorney General's office. They used this little street thug to turn a war on the police into an epidemic. The street thug, as you know, has not been heard from for a while. They put him on ice because they know what he did, and they know that it's too politically dangerous to bring the thug out from the curtain again. But you're talking about bullying? Does it get any worse than this thug attacking police for defending a city? And that's why I say to you, unless you stand up to these bullies now, all is lost. I know how this ends. I have studied communist revolutions. I know what equal outcome-based programs yield. It yielded this in the ex-Red China. After Mao Zedong became a dictator, he caused the Red Revolution. He unleashed a vicious epidemic of young bullies who tied red scarves around their heads, the Red Brigades, and they went around, just as these leftists are going around in America, intimidating the middle class, telling them that they were counter-revolutionaries, telling them that they weren't PC enough. As a result, the finest surgeons in China were put into the laundries of hospitals, and uneducated peasants from the fields were turned into doctors. Does that sound familiar to you? Do you see what's going on right in front of your eyes? How long have I warned you that there has been a communist revolution in America? You don't understand. It's been done step by step, not through the barrel of a gun. But Obama's so clever. I should say the people who put the stooge in power are so clever that they used a different method of imposing a sort of communist revolution on America. Now, people will scoff at this and say, oh, come on, Savage. A communist revolution means that all the means of production and control are controlled by the government. Well, my friends, we are talking about the society first. If they intimidate you, if they intimidate the people, if they break down the will of the people, everything else will follow. They are so close now to total and absolute power through terror over the average person that I chose to do this a second day in a row. I am focusing on these left-wing fascist scum, these bullies at every level. I am showing you what happened yesterday, where a left-winger by the name of Bernie Sanders they attempted to ridicule him with a Jewish blood libel, because it's not that he was not left enough, it's that he didn't cater to the Palestinian party line that the National Palestinian Radio espouses. National Palestinian Radio, NPR, is paid for with your money. And the hate of de jour is now directed at Jews and Israel. Of course, it's not anti-Semitism. It's just called anti-Zionism. But as Martin Luther King Jr. said famously, make no mistake about it. There ain't no difference between anti-Semitism and anti-Zionism. He knew where it was coming from. He knew that the rabid left hated Jews. And so there was Diane Rem. By the way, she's of Arab descent. There was Diane Rem ripping Bernie Sanders apart, saying that he was on a list of members of Congress with dual citizenship. Now, if I had ever done that on this radio show, let's say Barack Obama agreed to an interview with his political opponents, and he came on this show, and I said to him, Mr. Obama, isn't it true that you're a Muslim? Tell me what would happen to my career. You know that I wouldn't last another second. There'd be a meltdown of this show. But she goes on the next day like nothing happened, because she's a member in good standing of the fascist brigades that are running this country. It goes on every level of our society. California trains professors to avoid microaggressions under that fascist dictator, Janet Napolitano, put there, handpicked by Obama to destroy the UC system. And she sends out notes that you can't put out myths such as America is the land of opportunity, or that, quote, I believe the most qualified person should get the job, or that America is a melting pot.